Hi guys, this is Mrs. Rooker. For those of you who don't know me or maybe just don't recognize my voice, that's me. I am in classroom N2. You're welcome to stop by anytime and get some help from me if you'd like. So we're going to do Unit 1, Day 3 today, which is solving multi-step equations. In your last video, you should have solved two-step equations. So this should be very similar, just doing a little bit more simplifying. So we're just going to start off solving the following equations and identifying the properties used in each step. So I'm going to be listing out what we're doing or what property we're using on each step. Okay, so when you have a multi-step equation, it starts to get more and more important that you kind of keep organized and that you understand what things you should do in what order. So the first thing I want you guys all to do is draw a line down the equal sign. If you're new at this is going to be important to kind of keep organized and keep kind of working in a straight line, working straight down. And then the first thing you're going to want to do when you have a multi-step equation is to simplify each separate side of the equation. So look at this left side of the equation, and you can see that we've actually got three terms here. We've got kind of a lot going on this side. And you can simplify this left side of the equation. If you have parentheses, you're going to want to distribute into those parentheses. Or if you have like terms, you're going to want to combine those. So that is what we have going on here. We've got like terms that we are going to combine. When you're combining like terms, you don't need to do any opposite or anything crazy. You're just going to combine them. So 7y minus 3y, you subtract the coefficient. So 7 minus 3 is 4. And then you leave the variable the same. So the y just stays y. So that was all we're doing for this step. Everything else stays the same. So the plus 12 stays plus 12, the equals stays, and then the 32 stays. So that step was combining like terms. All right, now we look at the equation. Let's still look at the left side because that left side is where the variable is. So we have this variable here. This is the thing that we're trying to isolate. We're trying to get the y by itself. So the goal is to move everything else over to the right side. So everything else meaning the 4 and the 12. So those two things need to move. And you're going to want to get rid of the 12 first. You're always going to want to add or subtract before you multiply or divide away from the variable. So it's kind of opposite of PEMDAS there. So we need to get rid of the plus 12. The way to move it is to cancel it out by doing the opposite of plus 12. So the opposite of plus 12 is minus 12. But whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So I'm subtracting 12 from both sides. That's called the subtraction property of equality. I just put POE, property of equality. All right, so what's going to happen here is the 12s are going to cancel. All that's going to be left on this left side of the equation is the 4y. So copy that down. The equal sign stays where it was. And then the right side of the equation, I'm going to combine these two. 32 minus 12 is 20. Okay. All right, the last step, remember the goal is to get y by itself. We need to get rid of the 4. Right now, this is 4 times y. To get rid of the 4, you do opposite of multiplying by 4, which is to divide by 4. And when I divide by 4, I always write it like this. It's just easier when you're working vertically to not have this divide sign. All right, the 4's will cancel. We'll be left with just y on the left side. And then 20 divided by 4 is 5. oh, I forgot to write it, but we divided both sides by 4, so that's the division property of equality. All right, so feel free to pause the video if you need to kind of write all that down. But yeah, oh, and I forgot to say, I know that I'm done because y is by itself. That's when I know I'm done. All right, moving on to number 2. I'm going to start it out the same way. I'm going to put a line down the middle. And then I'm going to look at the left side of the equation because that's the side that has the most going on. So I actually have 2 options for this left side. One option is to distribute into the parentheses. That's going to kind of simplify the left side. That's one option. It's a good option. The other option is instead of distributing, we look at what this actually means. This means 3 times 2x minus 9. I can get rid of the 3 not by distributing, but I can get rid of it by doing the opposite of multiplying by 3. The opposite of multiplying by 3, whoops, I didn't mean to erase. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3. But whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must also do to the other. So those will cancel. We'll be left with 2x minus 9 on the left side. You could put parentheses, but they aren't necessary. And then the right side is going to be 15 divided by 3, which is 5. Since I divided something on both sides, that's called the division property of equality. All right, next thing, remember the goal is to get x by itself. The goal is to get this guy by itself, so I need to move the 2 and the 9. I need to add or subtract first, which means I need to get rid of the 9 first. Right now we have minus 9. The way to get rid of it is to do opposite of minus 9, which is plus 9. Whatever you do to the left side, you must also do to the right side. I'll be left with 2x on the right side, or sorry, on the left side, equals 15 plus 9, sorry, 5 plus 9 is 14. Since I added something on both sides, that's called the addition property of equality. And then the final thing we need to get by itself is, or sorry, the final thing we need to move is the 2 because we need to get the x by itself. Right now this is 2 times x. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. Those will cancel. We'll be left with just x equals 14 divided by 2 is 7. We divided on both sides, so that's called the division property of equality. All right, so feel free to pause the video if you need to kind of write all this down, and then we'll move on to the next problems. All right, so here the directions say to solve the equations by using the distributive property. On number 1, you can use the number 3, the next problem. You can use the distributive property, and because the directions say to do so, that's probably the way to go. Although, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think that's the greatest way to solve this one. I personally would rather divide away the 3 and get rid of it instead of multiplying in the 3. That's just my personal thoughts, but because the direction said to solve using the distributive property, I'm going to listen and I'm going to distribute. So what that means is I'm going to multiply in the 3. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And then the right side is still just 9. So that was step 1, to simplify that left side of the equation. Step 2 is to start moving things away from the x. Remember, the goal is to get x by itself, so we're going to start moving things away. You're always going to add or subtract first before you multiply or divide. So we're going to move the negative 21 first. The opposite of minus 21 is plus 21. We'll be left with 6x, because the 21s will cancel, equals 9 plus 21, which is going to be 30. And then the final thing we need to get rid of to get x by itself is the 6. The way to get rid of the 6 is to do opposite. Right now this is 6 times x. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is to divide by 6. Those cancel. We're left with x equals 5. Okay. Feel free to pause if you need to write all that down. Okay. All right, number 4. It says to solve using the distributive property. The mistake a lot of students will make is they will want to distribute the 4. But that would be incorrect, because this is not 4 times 3x plus 2. This is 4 minus 3x plus 2. You only distribute when the thing is right in front of the parentheses. So we aren't distributing the 4, but we are going to distribute something. The thing we're going to distribute is the negative sign. The negative gets distributed. The 4 does not. 4 just kind of stays hanging out in front. The negative distributes. So negative times 3x is negative 3x. Negative times 2 is negative 2. And everything else just stays the same. All right, so we didn't distribute the 4, we just distributed the negative sign. All right, the next steps are to continue simplifying this left side. You're not going to start moving things to the right until the whole left side's been simplified. There is one more thing that you can combine, and that is the like terms, the 4 and the negative 2. Since they're on the same side of the equation, we're just combining them. We don't need to do anything opposite. We're just going to combine 4 minus 2, which is 2. So that's just going to be 2. I'm going to put that with a plus in front because it's a positive 2. And then I'm going to leave the negative 3x in front of that because that didn't combine with anything. And then 13 still on the other side of the equal sign. All right, now to finish this problem, you're going to want to get rid of the negative 3 and the 2. You want to get rid of the 2 first because you're going to add or subtract before you multiply or divide. So the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. Those will cancel. We'll be left with negative 3x equals 13 minus 2 is 11. And then the final step is to get rid of the negative 3. Remember, this is negative 3 times x because they're right next to each other. Negative 3 times x, the opposite of multiplying by negative 3 is to divide by negative 3. So x equals 11 over negative 3, or negative 11 thirds, however you want to write it. And you can just leave your answer like that because it doesn't really simplify. All right, so I'm going to have you guys, in just a second, I'm going to have you pause the video so that you can do numbers 5 and 6 on your own. And then when you unpause the video, I'll have the answers for you up here. So pause the video right now and do numbers 5 and 6. Here are the solutions to numbers 5 and 6. Number 5 was fairly straightforward. You combine like terms. So combine the 4 and the negative 7. And then you add 3 to both sides and divide both sides by 5. 6 was a little bit longer, but not too bad. You need to distribute, you need to distribute the negative 4 first. When you distribute the negative 4, you need to make sure to do negative 4 times y. And then negative 4 times negative 3, a negative times negative is a positive 12. So positive. Then combine like terms. Then subtract the 12 from both sides. All right. So we're going to do A and B. Actually, I'm just going to give you a few hints on those, and then I'm going to have you do those on your own as well. So for A, what you're going to do is combine like terms first. Remember, this is a 1x. So you're going to have 1x minus 9x. You're going to combine those first and then go from there. And then on B, you're going to make sure to distribute first. Oops. Then combine like terms and then solve from there. So again, pause the video, work out those two problems. All right, here are the solutions to A and B. Feel free to pause the video so that you can kind of write all that down if you don't have it already. And then I know some of these problems can be tricky, so make sure to come with questions to class when we see you next. All right, so we're going to move on to number 7. If you would like, it might be a good idea to pause the video and really read through this problem. Make sure you understand the problem before we go through it together. All right, so you purchased 5 tickets for a football game. I'm just going to kind of highlight important information. 5 tickets for a football game from an internet ticket agency. In addition, it's an interesting word there, addition to the cost per ticket, the agency also charges a convenience charge of $2.50 per ticket. So it's not a one-time fee, that's $2.50 for each ticket. You choose to pay for rush delivery, which is $15. Oops, sorry. The total cost of your order is $352.50. How much does a ticket cost for the football game? So we're trying to find how much each individual ticket costs. We know the total cost. We know how many tickets were bought. We know about the extra fees, all that. So I personally like to start writing these equations with the total. I know that I want, actually I need to write this higher up so we have room to solve. I know that I want the total amount to be equal to 350 to 50. I like to start there because I think it's just a really easy place to start with the total amount. And that's going to be the only thing on the right side of the equation. Everything else is the kind of the unknowns and the little random fees and everything, and those should all add up and give us a total. So now I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning. I know we purchased 5 tickets, so I'm going to put 5. The issue is I don't know how much those 5 tickets cost. That's what I'm trying to find, is the total cost. So the total cost for each ticket, or I guess not total cost, but the cost for each ticket is my X. That's my variable. If I could, there we go. Now my pen's working. That's what I'm trying to find. I don't know how much it is, but that's what I'm trying to find. So 5 tickets times some amount, I don't know how much, plus what else did I have to pay for? That's why I put plus, because it's in addition to the tickets. I also have to pay a convenience charge of $2.50 per ticket. Well, how many tickets did we order? We ordered 5 tickets, so it's $2.50 times 5 because that is per ticket for each of the tickets. Plus, what else did I have to pay for? I also had to pay for rush delivery, which was $15. I'm assuming that rush delivery we only had to pay once. We don't have to pay it 5 times. So I'm not going to multiply the rush delivery by 5 because that was a one-time fee. And then some people have asked in the past why we include that because, oh wait, never mind. That was on a different problem. We're good. Okay, anyway, so that's everything that we paid for, and we know that the total ends up equaling 352.50. So this is our completed equation, and now we're going to solve it. So what I'm going to have you guys do is pause the video really quick and try simplifying this left side of the equation. So simplify all of this as best you can, and then unpause the video when you're done, and you'll see what I got when I simplified this. All right, so this is what I got when I simplified just the left side of the equation. So I was able to multiply 250 times 5 and then combine like terms. And I got, when I combined those, I got 2750. So now we're going to do the actual solving. So I'm going to draw a line down the middle so I don't kind of mix up the sides. And I'm going to try to get x by itself. I have two things I need to get rid of, the 5 and the 2750. I'm going to get rid of the 2750 first. And to do that, I subtract 2750 on both sides. And then when I subtract that from the left side, I am just left with 5x because this cancels. And then on the right side, I'm left with 325. The last step is to get rid of the 5. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is to divide by 5. And I get x equals 65. Remember, x stood for the cost for the football game, or for a ticket. So each ticket costs $65. And you can always kind of plug your answer back into the original problem to check and make sure you got it right. All right, so I know some of this stuff is tricky, so make sure to come with questions to class. Thank you guys.